I never thought that this is what I would be doing. When I was a kid, I was like, I wanted to be an actor. I love movies. Falling into documentary was something that was just not expected. And there was a lot of doubt when I was making this. I was like, how do I turn this into a feature film though? And Jiro himself, really worried about David. He's making the most boring film of all time. Please tell him we will not be offended if he goes home, wasting all of his money and wasting his life doing this. But, you know, I stuck with it. And I knew that it was something that I wanted to watch.
What's good, crew here? It's Dine and Grind, the podcast where we talk about the entrepreneurial hustle and grit. Shout out before we start the pod to Snibs. You know I had a slip and fall, which put me on my feet, tens of thousands of dollars of medical bills. That's why I created Snibs. Snibs is sponsoring this podcast, so thank you. And today I have a guest that is freaking amazing. He's turned cinematic food into art into food. He's told stories that made me fall in love with the people that I know, these celebrity chefs. David Gelb, the creator and the story magician of Chef's Table, Jiro, so many other great food shows. You got a podcast now. You are one of the people that I've been wanting to get on this podcast, so thank you so much for being here. And I just want to jump right into it.
Man, thank you so much. And the story magician is great.
Yeah, you like that one?
Yeah. I'm putting that on my business card.
Yeah, so just LinkedIn profile.
That,
yeah,
that's badass. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So we normally have food operators, we have chefs, but I think what would be so interesting to me and to our audience, like, is you've been around more. You know, they say the best surgeons are the ones who have the most at-bats, right? They've done the most surgeries. You've talked and gotten to depth of chefs beyond anyone I know. Like, you know, when I'm out and I see one of these guys, like, they're not telling me their life story, and you're able to crack them, and I don't want to say crack them because that's not what it is, but crack that emotional,
sure,
you know, boundary with some people that are some hard asses, you know? And so I would love to know, was this something as a child where you just like, hey, I like beautiful things and I like beautiful stories, or how did we get here?
I mean, I never thought that this is what I would be doing.
No?
Ultimately. No. Like when I was a kid, I was like, oh, to be honest, like if I go all the way back, I wanted to be an actor. I love movies. And so I didn't know that there was anything other than the actors that were like making the movie. So it was like, oh, Han Solo, like I want to be that guy. I want to be Harrison Ford. And then, you know, I wanted to make films, and, you know, I do. But falling into documentary was something that was just not expected. I went to USC Film School. I wanted to do, you know, kind of big budget, crazy movies, and then just kind of found myself loving the way that, like with a documentary, you can do a lot with a small crew and make a big, you know, tell a big emotional story. And so the first one was Jiro Dreams of Sushi, and it kind of went on from there. Okay,
so in that moment, well, that's, by the way, that's pretty crazy that you didn't set out to be able to do this, but it's the storytelling art. Like, I feel like at this, you've created such a pinnacle of what you can do that you can lend that to all of the other types of forms of cinema and probably crush it, which you have. I mean, you know, you've gone and crossed the chasm into the Lazarus effect, right? So, but with Jiro, I have so many questions, because obviously that movie was one of the most impactful documentaries, because I think as a chef, you know, I dedicate my life to my work, but not like that, you know, and I guess one of the things I first wanted to know was, when you started uncovering the story, was it intoxicating? Like, were you like, hey, I'm going to go back and create mastery? Like, what was the lessons learned? And at what moment did you know in there that you were uncovering kind of gold?
I mean, it started as a project to do with I wanted to do a bunch of different sushi chefs and kind of make like this kind of planet Earth kind of thing about sushi chefs around the world. But I got really sucked into his story because I realized that it's, first off, Jiro being at the time, he was 83 years old, 84 years old, working in the subway station, serving the first ever 3 Michelin starred sushi. He's got a son still working for him at the restaurant. I was like, oh, this is like a really human, emotional story. And it became less about the information about how to make sushi, but more about like why he makes sushi. And I was, he's been doing it for God knows, how many decades. And I'm actually kind of starting out. I would think I was 27, 26 when I was shooting the thing. So I was inspired by him, and I wanted to do the best that I could in every part of making the movie. And I had just enough experience, doing camera work on like tons of music videos and all kinds of things like that. And I could run the sound, and I kind of figured out how to do it on my own without needing too much money to shoot the thing. And
how big was the production crew?
2 people. It was me and a translator / assistant, and it was.
That is incredible.
I've been thinking about it a lot because it's actually It's been 15 years since I finished making it, and then next year it'll be 15 years since it came out. It came out in March 2012.
Wow.
And it was a lot, and there was a lot of doubt when I was making this. I was like, the footage is really cool. He's very zen. Like, how do I turn this into a feature film, though? And Jiro himself was like, I think we were shooting a scene where the guy the apprentice is massaging the octopus they massage the octopus for an hour to get all the the flavor out of it and tenderize it and all of that. And Jiro, to my translator, is like, I'm really worried about David. He's making the most boring film of all time. Like, please tell him we will not be offended if he goes home, because he's like wasting all of his money and wasting his life doing this.
Just sitting here on the
and I'm like, no, it's amazing. And that part of me is like, am I? Is it? But I stuck with it and iterated and just kept on making new cuts, and went back and filmed more, and then kind of figured it out. But I knew that it was something that I wanted to watch. And if I'm so fortunate that if I want to watch something that somebody else shares my taste, then I'm very lucky in that way,
That is incredible. So you just took the risk. You were like, I have this idea. Did you have funding, or was it self-funded?
Yeah, I borrowed money from my dad and my grandparents, and I was like, this will hopefully launch my career. I won't have to ask you for money again. And they were like, I don't know, maybe it'll be good. They liked my dad loved sushi. My dad took me to Japan a lot when I was a kid. But they were worried because it's like, no crew. It didn't seem fully legit to them. So
I mean, if you told me now you were going to go do that, it still seems kind of risky and crazy. But that's entrepreneurial grit, right? I mean, it's having the belief in yourself to do something so wild.
Yeah.
And at 27, no less. That's pretty cool. So
Thank you.
Were there moments in there outside of hearing from Jiro that he doesn't think you're making a good movie, like, I can understand where self-doubt would come in. Was there a moment where you almost gave up? Was that it? Or
no,
you knew it?
No, I was never going to give up, but I definitely was worried. I would be stringing out, and my Japanese language skills are like mid to low. So, I would be filming a scene and I'd be like, oh, this is really, this must be really incredible. Like, they must be talking about sushi. They're like looking at the sushi and like there's some kind of real revelation. And they're just like talking about baseball, and I'm like watching the footage and I'm like, oh fuck. My time's running out. My bank account is like dwindling. It's expensive to being in Japan is expensive. But I loved being there, and I just thought I could just put it together somehow and figure it out. So I believed it, but there was a lot of doubt. Did I almost give up? I mean, no, because I didn't know what else I was going to do. Like, there was no moment where I was like, I'm going to quit. But there were moments where I'm like, oh, I'm a little fucked here. Like, how am I going to figure this out?
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, that's the thing, right? You have to figure it out.
You have to figure it out.
You got Papa's money on the line over here.
You got to figure it out. It's like and also the other interesting thing about the whole moment of making it was that so the story in the movie, a lot of it is about Jiro and then his son being like, can I live up to my father's expectations? Can I walk in his shoes? Am I like good enough? And everybody's like, oh, well, will he ever be able to succeed his father, et cetera? And then, my dad at the time is the manager, and still is. He's the general manager of the Metropolitan Opera. My grandfather was the managing editor of the New York Times. They are like, these big shots in their in these, kind of very important like New York institutions. And I wanted to make something that I felt was worthy of the family legacy and stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, I felt a lot of stuff on the line, but I think that feeling works in the movie, because that's what I'm thinking about, and then I'm seeing it playing out in the film, and somehow it just kind of worked like that.
Well, I'm sure they were really proud of you. And so how long did post-production take?
It was like a month of shooting, then 6 months of editing, trying to figure out what the movie was about and what I needed, and then 1 more month of shooting, and then 3 more months of editing, and then that was it. So about, what is it? I can't add the numbers up, but
it's like about a year.
About a year. About a year. Yeah, about a year, which is short in general for documentaries, but that's also a product of my like ADD, I imagine, that I just wanted to just like, I just was like pressing hard on it. And it's fun to think about just looking back on it. There are moments when a scene is really working and I'm like finding the music. I have this like the Philip Glass music in it and stuff, and I'm just like, oh, like this hits. And the feeling, and I imagine like as a chef, like when you taste something or you're like in your restaurant, you feel that it's like the build is coming together. In my case, it's like when a scene is like hitting, like the music's right, the feeling's right, the pacing, and then the content, and you're giving yourself chills, like then it's like, okay, this is like worth it. Like if I can just carry this feeling and then hit that wavelength, and it just comes from trial and error. And so there's a lot of, and the reason the editing is like 6 months or whatever, you know, it's much more, the editing in documentary especially, you're writing the movie while you're editing it. You're writing it while you're prepping it, you're writing it while you're shooting it, and then really you're writing it when you're editing it, because that's when you're choosing what pieces am I putting in, what order am I doing the thing. And there's not a script, so it's like there's a million different ways you could do it. And it's just trying it again and again and again, showing it to people, and like feeling the cold sweat, and we were like, oh my God, this is boring. Like when you watch something that you make with somebody else in the room, it completely changes the way that you see it. And I can't even fully explain it, but it's like, even if the person is not reacting.
Yeah. No, if you see them look away, or it's the same with food. If you see them kind of like not take the last bite, you're like, well, what happened?
I'm sure that's exactly what it's like. It's like, and it just completely feels different. And so that's like so
it's the vulnerability too. Yeah. Who was the first person you showed it to?
Oh man. I did it in a group. So it was just me and the editor, my editor, who was actually my freshman college roommate, Brandon Driscoll Luttringer. So I had like some short clips, and the short clips are easy because like you're just taking a great short clip and people love the short clips. I did a screening for like 30 friends, and it was like a 2.5 hour version of a movie that ended up being 83 minutes, and it was absolutely brutal. A big part of the filmmaking process is like you're shooting the thing, and then yes, you have doubt and whatever. But once you finish shooting it and you have your footage and you start making your clips, you're like, this is the fucking best thing I've ever done. This is amazing. People are gonna go nuts. Then you have what's called the assembly, which is where you just lay out all the scenes and it's all kind of there in an order. And it is the worst thing ever. Like the assembly always is terrible because it's just like, it's not what you want it to be when it's all together. And that screening was absolutely brutal. And we're like, yeah, they're cool parts, but people were bored, I mean, frankly. And it came down to, there was a lot of scenes that were similar, and it just came down to choosing the best version of those scenes. But man, that was rough.
Yeah.
The first screening is always rough.
Always.
Yeah.
I think that what is the difference, I don't know, from what I've seen too in my own world is like, I know a dish is good, but for it to be great, I have to put it to a different standard. Like, like it's just, like, okay, this is good, but is it blowing my socks off? Like, are we gonna make people think it's craveable? Are they gonna remember this? And if it's not, then you go back to the drawing board. And I think people lie to themselves because they don't wanna put in that last 5%, that last 10%, but we all know that's like the difference, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I could probably ask you a million more questions about Jiro just because it's so fascinating and hearing the story behind it. But let's jump forward a little bit. So I think what I would love to know is, when did you feel personally like it was a success? Because you had success pretty early after it launched, right? I mean, it was pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, the movie, well, actually at first, so we premiered it at the Berlinale, the film festival. It's in Berlin. Got good reviews, not a single offer from a buyer. Nobody wanted it because it was like, oh, it's a foreign language documentary. Like nobody will ever watch this, but like, it's nice. Nobody, Japan wouldn't even watch it. No distributor in Japan would even came to a screening. And the movie just kind of like was like, oh, it's like a cool movie, but no, good reviews, but nobody wanted to buy it. Ultimately, it was Tom Quinn, who now runs Neon, who is, I think that now can be universally recognized. And Tom, I hope you're watching. He can pick winners. And he bought Parasite, which won Best Picture. He bought Anora, won Best Picture. Like, the guy, like, just knows when something works, especially in Asian cinema. And not that this is a film that was made by an American, but it was in Asia. And he took a chance on it. And so they released it. It was in, like, I think it got up to like 80 theaters at some point, and it did pretty well. But it really hit on Netflix. And I think that it's when, for me, the personal moment of success, one was that Bourdain loved the movie. When Anthony Bourdain got behind it and was like tweeting about it and hosted a screening and stuff, I was like, okay, for me, because I'm a huge fan of his, that was like making it in a big way. And then seeing it explode on Netflix was like, oh wow, like this is something. We did it.
Really cool.
Yeah.
It's funny too, because it's, you would obviously think it's the exploding on Netflix, but it's the Anthony Bourdain. It's like, I don't know, for me too, it's like, it's the moments within the moments that are really meaningful to you, because it's, it's one thing to just hear numbers and say they're great, but it's another thing when there's an emotional attachment to like the moment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and then ultimately, like, my grandfather really liked it. My dad has notes to this day, still has notes.
Of course.
But he's
That's
tough.
Dad.
He's tough. He's proud of me, but he's like, it's good. Yeah, like he would have done it differently. I'm like, okay, great. But Bourdain approving, like when a real hero like really likes it, that's like, it's kind of a special thing.
Okay, so then how much time passed between the success in Jiro before you came up with the idea for Chef's Table and started to execute?
So ultimately the idea for Chef's Table sort of predates Jiro, because I wanted to do like a larger Planet Earth of food that became Planet Earth of Sushi, that became just Jiro. And then
hold on a second. So
thing works.
Planet Earth of food.
Yeah.
Were you just having a moment where you were like, hey, this is the right vibe? Like, I need to tell people stories through food? Like, how did...
No, it wasn't even about telling stories. I just was like, Planet Earth, the show.
Yeah. I don't see it with food. I'm not fully...
It's just like, it's like the animals.
I remember getting super high watching...
biomes. I'm like, oh yeah, like we could do like the way everybody eats in the different continents per episode and whatever. And it would be just sort of like this global view. It was like not at all focused. It was very high, kind of like bong rips. And
that's what I was going to say. That's what I remember Planet Earth was
like.
in
college.
Yeah.
And, but then I wanted to circle back to this idea of like, we could do a show that that kind of spans the world, but we would do it in this character focused way. But off of Jiro, I did a couple of things, like you mentioned, The Lazarus Effect. I did this a horror movie with Blumhouse, with Olivia Wilde and Mark Duplass and Donald Glover, and Evan Peters and Sarah Bolger. So it was like a very cool cast and stuff. And the movie it made money. It was absolutely destroyed by critics, but it did really well commercially. So I could have continued following that path of doing kind of like genre or horror movies and stuff like that. But coming off of like 99% Rotten Tomatoes on Jiro and then just getting absolutely destroyed on Lazarus Effect, like it didn't feel great. And I was like, but beyond that, when I was making Jiro, I really knew what I was making. And then when I was making Lazarus, it was like, okay, I'm kind of making a product and I'm trying to like hit the boxes of the jump scares and all the various things. But so I was like, okay, what do I want to make that's really like for me? And I played around in some other documentaries. Like I did a documentary on the Mustang for the 50th anniversary and various commercial projects and things.
I watched that documentary.
Oh, thank you.
It was actually really cool.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, it was
Appreciate
really cool.
that. Yeah, because it's about how a car gets made. It's like very complicated and crazy.
Yeah.
But also people are very emotionally attached to vehicles. And you have some cool vehicles in the front there. That's badass. Yeah. And I like the vintage, the vintage car. There's a feeling about the craft of the old cars that is really just kind of magic. But then the idea of Chef's Table kind of persisted, and Netflix was open to it because the numbers on Jiro were good. They knew that people wanted more of this kind of thing. They had never done an original documentary series before.
I didn't know that.
We were the first ever original doc series. We're the longest running show in the history of the platform and still going. And
all from someone in their young 40s. That's pretty badass. Netflix, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, and so the format just like works. Obviously, like if you can make something about this guy, you can make something about anybody that is passionate about food. And we started with like kind of the idea of like the tasting courses. And if you look at the first season, second season, it's all very like kind of Michelin starred, like big world's 50 best kind of restaurants that are all kind of these tasting courses and stuff. But then we've expanded. Season 3, we had Nancy Silverton, and we had, Ivan Orkin and Ivan Raman. We did a Korean Buddhist nun. And then we did a spin-off show called Street Food. And we just found that anybody that is passionate about food, has a story to tell.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and now you're getting into the stories, you're getting into the thick of it. And I've always wondered, like, how do you screen for your people, like your chefs that you find? And then do you think about, like, I know Guy, it's a crazy reference here to talk about Guy, but I know Guy, for instance, thinks about like the impact he's going to have on the chef after.
Guy Fieri.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But because he makes such a wave. And I think you obviously have a lot of power in the same way, which is when you give a chef love, that chef's life is going to change, not because his work is different, but because you got to spotlight his story as part of that. And so how much thought goes into like who you screen, and like how do you find the chefs that you love?
The chefs come from, it comes from journalism, a lot of it. Like we read articles. Chefs are recommended by other chefs. One of our executive producers, Brian McGinn, is also like super tuned into food world. And so he has led the casting and, has directed a lot of the episodes and worked, of course, very, very deeply across the show and was running the show for a long time. He will present people and come up with suggestions. But a lot of it is just great food journalism. Like you read this incredible, I think it was New York Magazine or something, New York Magazine, oh my God, forgive me, of Massimo Bottura. And I was like, oh, like look at this story. It's all like laid out here. And we're not doing necessarily a film adaptation of that, but then it helps us see the potential of it. We need a chef that's like willing to give us the time. Before Chef's Table, there were not really shows that were taking up 2 weeks of a chef's time.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Their time is
up in the restaurant.
Super valuable.
Well, yeah, because like Guy, and I have a lot of respect for Guy because I appreciate how he shines lights on things and also how thoughtful he is about the responsibility in doing that. And I remember seeing some interview with him where he was like, if they want notes, I'll give them. If they ask me how it is, I try to keep it positive and I want to make them, but I will tell them, treat your bun or like do something. I just found that he's like, I really like him. Even though he seems like the other end of what Chef's Table is, he's a person who cares deeply about people. Yeah. And ultimately that's what our show is about. So we want to tell stories about people that have something to say with their cooking, that they are willing to be open and vulnerable and share their lives and really like get down to it, that they're not going to just be kind of PR or rehearsed. A lot of the time, most of the chefs are not people that, I don't think any chef that we've ever done has been like somebody who's like come to us being like, oh, like we think you should do our restaurant or whatever. We seek out people that are like really focused on what they're doing. And I like trying to convince them to let us.
That's part of it. Yeah, there you go.
The first season was tough because we needed that 2-week thing. Jiro was like pretty well known, but not everybody knew it. And so convincing chefs to do it was a little bit of like, oh, well, Magnus Nilsson, like, Ben Shuri's going to do it if you do it. And then Massimo's in if you do it, and they're like, it's kind of like he's in, so will you do it? And then like we're kind of going on both sides of it and just kind of floating the pieces together. But then the casting, of course, got a lot easier. But it's about passion, Yeah. If you're passionate, it works.
And is that what is the common thread amongst the chefs that you've worked with throughout the years?
It's passion.
It's passion.
It's literally passion. It's passion, and we talk about it like a superhero origin story. We have a lot where it's like they discover some kind of talent, some kind of superpower in them, and it's the journey of learning how to use it in the right way, and using their abilities responsibly, and the mistakes and the corrections and, all the kind of, it's about that journey. It's always an origin story.
Oh, I love that. And what have you noticed? So like what happens if you do, like I met a lot of these guys, like, it is hard to get through with some of them. Like, I'm sure you found yourself in an interview process where you're like, I'm not getting what I need. Like, is there something you do that like is your little trick that you're comfortable sharing or something?
Oh, sure. It's long interview.
Eventually you'll get there. Yeah, it's like interrogation.
It's just long, it's persistent.
How long are the interviews?
I mean, it's like 3 to 4 hours, maybe 3 of them throughout the episode. But the thing is also, they see us coming in with all the fucking gear, and they also, at past season 1, like they know what the show's about. And when they saw Jiro, because all the chefs in the first season had seen it before we started shooting, even if they hadn't seen it before we cast them, they kind of got it, like, okay, this is like a deep thing, so they're ready for it. They see us rolling in with like all this gear, all this investment, and myself and the other directors come in with like pure curiosity. We love to eat. We come in like very respectful. We don't make them close the restaurant. We work around them and we find this rhythm and stuff. And in choosing our crew members, everybody is very like sensitive and respectful, and we all are very curious and we care and we're hungry. And that kind of helps set the stage for a very like collaborative thing. And the other thing is, if I'm going to ask a very deep question of someone, or about something that's painful or whatever it is, or I know about it, we, myself and the other directors, we share ourselves as well. And you don't see that on camera, but like we give. The more you give in the interview, and then we relate to their thing, and then because we're humans too, we're not just like a robot asking questions. We're like, oh yeah, like I get that. When I something, we relate a question to our own life, and then ask it, because it helps them understand that like we actually want to know for ourselves, in addition to the story of the film. And that kind of the more you give to the project, the more you get from it.
Is that what set you up for such a successful podcast? Is that you're kind of doing that in a podcast?
I guess so. I mean, the podcast is you get the other side of it, and but I love interviewing. I'm really into it. I love asking questions. I love talking. So it felt like a natural way to expand the show. Yeah.
No, it's pretty interesting. And I thought that's what I felt like your gift is, obviously your ability to do that so well, because two people can have the exact same conversation, or try to have the exact same conversation with a totally different outcome, same questions. I'm sure you've seen it. Did you at one point in Chef's Table, did you take your foot off the gas and start letting some of your team help you more?
Oh, 100%. I mean, from the beginning, Chef's Table was set up to be able to work in my absence. So it's like, first season I did, the Massimo Bottura episode, and that's it. And then, I had the other directors and teams, and I was very heavy in post myself, Brian and Danny O'Malley, one of our other original EPs, and then Andrew Freed is our EP who does the overall like production company-ness of it all, and he helped us like kind of adapt this into a TV show, because it took a year to do Jiro, right? So how do we do this in a shorter amount of time, but they're still like 45 minute to an hour long episodes. And so we built it to be a system that could work. And so that's been, and it has. Season 2, I think I did like maybe one episode season 2. I did like 2 in season 3, but it doesn't require me to direct them. And at a certain point, I was able to just watch cuts and give notes sometimes. Sometimes I don't even have notes, because I'm like, wow, they're doing a great job. They're doing their process between the story producers and the EPs and the directors, like they know how to make this show, and they know how, and they get it. We've just hit our 10-year mark. And so now at this point, I feel like with audiences changing, our style is so established, that we, used to be kind of like the cool new show. And now of course it's 10 years later and we're like kind of the old school show. We have 2 new seasons coming up, 8 episodes that we're about to go into production on. Camera technology has also changed. When I made Jiro, it was when the first Red 1 camera came out. So this was the first like kind of digital cinema camera that could create an image that would be of like a planet Earth kind of thing, like a real movie theater image that you don't require film loaders and all these things to be able to shoot in slow motion, to be able to shoot all this kind of like cinema style. So it was like a big deal. We have new cameras now and new systems that allow us to do even more, again, with a very compact and small crew. So I'm actually going back out and I'm going to direct all 8 episodes myself and do the cinematography on them.
Wow, Renaissance.
Basically what I did on Jiro, with support, of course, and with teams, and there will be co-cinematographers, and because I can't handle every single scene, because the way that we're doing it, it's just a new style that makes it efficient, makes the crew smaller, because I want to reach out for an even more kind of intimate experience where the chefs don't feel like that they're on a movie set. I don't want them to be like, oh, we're on chef's table, so I'm going to act like this, and there's so many lights and tents, and the kitchen looks completely different from where it used to be when they're normally working there. We're going to do some lighting, but the idea is to just keep everything at an absolute minimal space, and while still making our food beauty, everything still looks really good. Technology allows us to keep things at a very high visual standard while doing it with a smaller crew and just keeping it very kind of intimate. And so we can just like let them be themselves, and we'll follow them, and they don't need to wait for us as we're bringing our big ass cameras in and stuff.
That's so cool. So it's like you built it for scale, and then you saw a moment where everything's evolving around it and you're jumping back in.
Yeah.
In another life, you could be a chef.
We're creating a new system. We're creating a new system now. Yeah. And then this will then become something that will be able to work without me if it has to.
So I feel like really good, and this is what's interesting. You didn't go to business school. You went to one of the best film schools in the nation, but no business school, right?
Correct.
And your parents are, I'm sure they're business minded, but they're not business entrepreneurs.
No. Yeah. My dad works in a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Right?
So.
But my mom is a recipe chef.
She's a recipe chef.
Yeah.
Oh,
so she helps like with the recipes for like Francis Mallman's cookbook.
Okay.
And other cookbooks as well. And so she's always been like a cook. Yeah.
I love that. So, but really great CEOs, like the ones that I know that I work with, like they're system architects. Like that's what I really think your job is. Because if you get into the minutia, you're doing a job, and so you're typically in a second role. But if you're really, really good at being a CEO and you have a company that obviously has enough revenue to hire that, or enough business to hire that CEO, you're a systems architect, and you need to go and continuously improve the system,
right?
Not do the job. And it's amazing that you think that way just kind of organically. Like, were you always business minded as part of the deal?
No, I'm a terrible business person.
But I would disagree.
But thank you for that. Look, I'm still working, which is great. The show exists, but again, a lot of that credit also goes to Boardwalk Pictures, which is our production company that I partnered with on it. And Andrew Freed and Dane Lilligard work with me to create the system. And so I show what the creative needs are by doing it. Like in this next period, like I'm going through the process of doing it, and then we're going to build the systems around what's working and what we may discover is not working. And we're going to see.
And I think I love the idea of the raw. So are you thinking, you said audiences, like kind of their styles have changed throughout the last 10 years. And it's pretty obvious, right? We went from super polished to maybe a little bit more kind of down and dirty. Is that the big change that you're trying to make into Chef's Table? Or?
I think the change is that the audience is used to seeing Chef's Table. It's no longer like a breakthrough kind of novelty. Whereas, when Chef's Table first came out, there was no other food show that didn't have a host, for example. It was all like Travelog, or it's in studio, or they're in the studio, talk show style, Emeralds, like BAM, and talking to the audience, or it was pack up your knives and go home, So this was a breakthrough at the time. Now I think that this show, and also there's been a lot of parodies and things of it, which I love, which is cool, but the style has become so established that now within that style, which is really we do own, I just want to make it more deep and emotional, but also like gripping, and I want everybody to be like, we want to watch every single episode, and just infuse it with like a little bit of life. I also have some new like camera robot technology that's going to allow me to like move the camera in new kind of ways.
Wow. Some
large motion control rigs have been miniaturized to the state where, we can do some stuff in the field that just hasn't been done before. And whether it's with shooting with people or just shooting the food itself. The other thing is that because the Chef's Table style of food shooting has existed, other people have figured it out. It's not impossible to do it. So a lot of the food that you see on food shows and stuff looks similar to the way that we shoot it, with like very shallow depth of field and kind of like a little bit of elegant camera move and lighting, and it's in commercial work that I've seen, and it's out there. And so I want to go back into how we shoot the food, and then I'm going to take it, like raise the bar even higher.
I can't wait for that. That's going to be so exciting. Yeah. And I thought Legends was like some of the coolest Chef's Table I've seen. And I know that was a while into it as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
But it was so fun watching each one of those episodes. I was savoring each moment.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I'm so proud. I love the way that the show is. It's just like and if I learned one thing from Jiro, it's never to be complacent and just to always be striving to go higher and higher and higher. And then sometimes you just have to kind of break it and then rebuild it. And let's see.
You know, and I think it's really weird for me. So I've been operating since I was 19 or 20 in my food truck. My food truck's 16, almost 17 years old this year.
Wow, congrats.
And
man.
thank you. And when I hit 10 years was when everything really, I had a monumental shift inside of me, because I went from thinking that my business would be open for a month, a year, maybe another year, to, oh my God, this has taken up a decade of my life. Had I done one thing better, like use a better quality of meat, I would have made animals' lives better. Had I used a better fork, I would have completed less landfill. You know, and I started to think like one small improvement, which I think is kind of what you're learning in Jiro's world as well, is like always look for that improvement. And for some reason, it was just that 10-year mark that shook me, because I don't know, it's like these milestones happen in your life. Like when I turned 30, I know 30 is young, but when I turned 30, I was like, oh, I'm not in my 20s anymore. Like, do I need to start thinking a little bit more maturely about where I'm going? Do I need a 401k? And so I have these moments like where, you start to look back on your life and look forward and just use that moment to inspire. And so, this is 10 years for you?
10 years of Chef's Table, yeah.
Yeah, 10 years of Chef's Table. And 16, how many years of...
and then 15 years since...
So yeah, similar. Yeah, you started really young. Yeah, so it's maybe these moments where you're going to redefine a category again.
I think it is. I think part of it also is that when you have been doing it for long enough, it becomes... how do I say it? It's like you're part of it. It becomes not automatic, but it's like it becomes... like a muscle memory, and you're able to do the thing, and then your mind is free to kind of be able to do it and at the same time observe it, versus like swimming and treading water in the thing. And I think that's kind of a moment of reflection. The other thing that makes it easy for me to reflect is that because of these milestones, like there's a lot of doing like kind of interviews and podcasts, etc. Where just talking through it is like therapy for me. And so it's, I discover things just like having these conversations. And good use on the technique of giving some of yourself and your own experience in the interview to bring it out.
I learn from the best.
Nicely done. No, how many episodes have you been in on this now?
We're like 25 episodes.
25 episodes. Good. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I'm genuinely like so excited to talk to you that these are questions I want to know, right? And so hopefully people who view it get to also want to hear these questions.
Exactly.
But I love having food industry people on this show, because it's always great to learn from your peers. But I find that learning things from people in adjacent industries, like the same lessons apply, but there's new POVs, like there's new perspectives that really open up your horizons on where to go. And I'm very inspired right now for some things.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for that. We have some fun things that we do towards the end. It's like a rapid fire question system. Also, I always like to give a pair of snibs away on the episode. They're always picked for you. So your last name, Gelb, it means yellow?
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to act like I knew that ahead of time, but he told me, so I can't bullshit. So we have the family style clogs. These are dead stocks, you can't buy them at home, sorry.
Oh, hell yeah.
They're size 12, they're that mustard yellow. They match your last name. I hope you enjoy them. You actually have some really cool kicks on right now. So
thank you.
This will be your new pair. You get to take these home with you.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate
now, whenever
that.
you're cooking with your mom or you're just back,
it's great, and I'm not gonna slip.
You're not gonna slip. Yeah, can't be caught slipping.
But you can slip them on.
You can. Very good.
That's badass.
That's
I love the bottom too. It's
thanks,
very,
man.
very cool.
Yeah. There's one other style that I was thinking I'm gonna get you, the Pro Boot, which
thank you.
Maybe we'll send you another
soft
time.
and cushy on the top too.
Yeah, they'll be comfortable.
Nice. Oh, fantastic.
And we make shoes with some of the chefs you featured in your lifetime, so pretty cool.
Appreciate that.
Okay, so rapid fire questions.
Okay, hit me.
All right. So if you had to summarize your 3 key ingredients for success, like a recipe, your mom would be proud. What are those 3 key ingredients?
Oh man, I gotta say it's patience, persistence, and dreaming.
Patience, persistence, and dreaming. Yeah, that makes sense. That is Jiro in a lot of ways, right? Yeah, that's pretty badass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the dreaming is, I didn't even think of that.
I know. I know. Sitting here, I'm like, wow, there's got to be a real relevance.
Yeah. I mean, the patience is a whole thing because, you know what? I'll give you one other thing that I'm obsessed with.
Okay.
So this is very Japanese, but there's this thing, Tokugawa Ieyasu is like the Japanese warlord who like unified Japan. And his whole thing was like, it's to gaze like a tiger and walk like a cow. And it's like a cow always has 3 hooves on the ground at a time when it's walking. But you want a tiger-like kind of ambition. So you see where you want to go and you go there steadily. And I just thought that was like, oh wow, that's pretty badass.
I love that.
Told me that. Somebody in Japan told me that.
I have so many follow-up questions. Where are you heading right now?
In the world?
Yes.
I'm going to Melbourne to start New Chef's Table.
No, but where are you? What tiger eyes are you perceiving in your future?
Oh my God. Well, you know, I think that Chef's Table, there's a lot of potential in the brand that we built. I think that, you know, we kind of have a kind of a deep kind of storytelling history. We have a pedigree of chef that we put in there with this idea of passion, whether it's a 3-star Michelin restaurant or it's a guy blowtorching tuna in Osaka, on a street stall. It's like Chef's Table, I think, means a lot to people in that it means kind of a quality thing that is rooted in purpose, something that stirs the soul. And so we have expansions on Chef's Table that we're pursuing. Chef's Table Talks, of course, being the beginning of our podcast, but we've just announced a partnership with American Express and Resi. There's going to be a food festival initiative that we're going to be doing.
Wow, that's really
in a
cool.
partnership with the Wynn Casino and Hotel Group, which I'm obsessed with. The only place that I stay when I go to Vegas.
The Wynn?
Is the Wynn, absolutely, Wynn Encore. And we have a new thing that we're doing with United Airlines where we're curating chefs to revamp their entire food system.
Wow, that's going to be so great.
Make food great on United.
Okay.
And so all of these things,
big.
we're looking at ways that we can use our, our audience and our prestige to, we wanted to make food TV, what we wanted to watch. We want to make all these other things the way that we want to eat them and experience them and hope that people share our taste.
That's so awesome. I remember there was a Chef's Table at the hotel on Fairfax, right? There was like a Chef's Table dinner series.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was really fun. Yeah. I remember going to that, right?
I'm remembering it. We may have to edit that one.
Okay, no?
Wait, it was a Chef's Table series in Fairfax. We did one at Freeze Fest.
No, there was one on Fairfax. You had 4 chefs that were on Chef's Table. You did 2 dishes from each one. You don't remember?
I'm going to say yes, but I don't specifically recall it.
I mean, you would know, obviously. You're the one who set it up.
No, because I work with the team.
The licensing team that does it?
Yeah.
You don't remember that? It was at what's that little hotel right across from the Grove? You know where it has like that little restaurant? This guy Leo owns it. Anyways, all right, whatever.
All right, just edit that one.
Yeah, edit it out. It's all right. Okay, rest of the that's okay. Rest of the rapid fire questions. Smash burger or full size patty?
Oh, I'll go smash.
Okay, good. It's hard. Full size patties are good, but smash is amazing.
I do enjoy full size patty, but growing up, just loving. I mean, this is crazy, but like going to McDonald's was always like a sentimental thing for me, and I'm not saying that. Like I just, it just.
You heard it first, David, here at McDonald's.
It just is, and it's something about chain food. I'm actually working with BJ Novak on a chain project.
On a chain concept. I know BJ.
And there is something nostalgic because it's about the way that it connects with like where you were. And actually, I had a talk with Eric Repair about this chain thing, and he was like, the Big Mac, it's like it's the perfect proportion of bread and meat and the sauce and everything. There's a reason that they served 100 billion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
I love when Eric talks about food. He gets so excited.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like I don't like a big fat hamburger so much.
Brings you back home. All right. This is a serious one for you.
Thin burger.
Neapolitan style pizza or slice? New York slice.
New York slice.
Okay. What is the New York slice of the moment for you?
I mean, in LA, I've just been doing Joe's Pizza just
Joe's
because
Pizza
it literally tastes like
home.
for me, it tastes like Ray's Pizza in New York, and I just you fold a slice, and the bite just tastes like what I remember. And I guess I'm rooted in storytelling and nostalgia, so everything that I'm going to pick is like goes back to like a moment in childhood or something.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is a good one for you. Omakase or a la carte menu?
I guess it depends on the place, but generally. I mean, if I'm at a sushi restaurant with like a legit chef, like I'll just let them give me what they want to do. So I'll always go omakase at a sushi bar if it's like, like a serious sushi bar. But at other restaurants, I'll usually go a la carte because I just can't eat all that sometimes. Like, and maybe this is just me being like Jewish and in my 40s, but like I got to take care of my tummy, And so
tummies are important.
A little portion control is necessary.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And then would you do a bagel, lox and schmear, or egg and bacon?
Oh man, see, both of these things are
I know.
crazy. I mean, for me, bacon, egg, and cheese is just like that's like breakfast as a high school kid in New York City, middle school, high school. It's just like what you get.
It's all the nostalgia.
Yeah, bacon, egg, and cheese. But I usually actually go bagel. I like butter and then the salmon and lemon. For some reason, I'm like
butter, salmon, and lemon.
I like butter instead of schmear for some reason. I'm a little weird.
Yeah, okay, not the traditional New Yorker that you would expect,
No. I don't know why I like butter.
Well, David, thank you for being on the podcast. Thanks for tuning in to Dine and Grind. Thank you for Snibs to making this happen. And really, there were so many good things, but I'm just kind of really rooted in this idea of having this mentality of it was 3 hooves on the ground and having the tiger eye. And I think really just taking the patience and it was patience. What was the other P?
Patience, persistence, and dreaming. Yeah.
And it's the idea of patience, it's persistence, and it's dreaming. And I think for us in our lives, the patience is hard. The persistence might be even harder. The dreaming is the fun part.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but when you put all those 3 together, I mean, that's how you get to row in one direction to your goals, right?
Oh, yeah, man.
Well, thank you so much, man.
Dude, thank you so much. Appreciate you.